Welcome to the Three Chord and Some Lies podcast with me, Andy,
me, Jim,
and we've got my brother as a guest this week. And you two are just on holiday in Greece, so this is a weird podcast we've got this week.
Cheers from the strawberry daiquiri drinking.
Yamas.
Yeah, Yamas.
I've got some fenugreek which I bought yesterday. That's all I've got.
Well, chin with your
chin. Yes, I'll down the hatch. Yes, I'll have a beer with Pa later. I'm sure.
Cool.
So what we've got, if you two aren't completely sozzled with strawberry daiquiris,
not at all. This is our first one.
Oh, good. The first of probably 10.
Yes.
So it's an international Three Chords podcast this week. So we've got Britain and Greece and you two. So you're both wearing Mad. Oh no, James isn't wearing a Mad shirt. But Jim is wearing a Mad shirt.
I am indeed. So the brief format for today is we had a really good time, Andy and I, a couple of weeks ago, talking about our favourite intros. So we thought we'd do is maybe a few other people as well, but specifically James here, as he plays guitar in Subliminal Girls, the band that I'm in, and is also a guitar nerd and friend of ours and brother of his. We thought we'd let him talk through some intros that he really enjoyed for this week's podcast. So
sounds like a plan.
So off you go, mate. Start us off. What are your choices?
Well, contrary to what you think, I've actually been planning this for a while. We spoke about this. I've been listening intently to things old and new, but I've probably reverted back to the old.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't necessarily say they're my all-time favourites. They're just what I think are just unbelievably brilliant, significant, impactful song intros.
Well, that's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine. So if you start telling us what it is and why,
we can tell you how wrong you are, or right you are, as the case may be.
I'm happy to tell you how wrong you were about yours. So
mine were perfect.
We'll save the brotherly bickering for another podcast. But let's go after you. Go.
We should have one where me and him just.
We'll definitely do that, but not now. Okay, go.
We're not doing it.
Yeah. Let's go to number one.
Go for number one. Go for the first one. Yes.
First one that I actually wrote on my list. And one of you's going to like this, one of you isn't. In fact, one of you's going to like all of these, and one of you isn't.
Okay, I know which one I'm going to be.
So the first one is by Nirvana.
Right?
No.
Funnily enough, not off Nevermind.
No.
It was the opening track to their final studio album, In Utero. It is called Serve the Service.
Recorded by Steve Albini in 1994.
The late great.
No, 1993. Oh, how could I get that wrong? 1993, yes. And why?
It was just the way they opened that record. It was like they were shaking off, firstly, trying to shake off the shackles of their success from Nevermind, which I think was unexpected at the time. And the first line, teenage angst has paid off well.
Now I'm old and bored.
Sick of being a celebrity.
Yeah.
And also, he really brushed upon a lot of things personal to him in his life, the treatment of Courtney Love by the press, his relationship with his own father. And it just felt like we're done with that stuff. This is the album we really want to make.
I've got to agree with you there, as In Utero is most definitely my favourite Nirvana album. When it comes to intros on that album, which one would I have gone for? I'd have probably gone for Francis Farmer. But it's absolutely, obviously, it's all a matter of opinion.
There was quite a few. I mean, Heart Shaped Box obviously was one of the most iconic ones that you learn to play when you're first trying to play guitar, isn't it?
Yeah, excuse me, I keep looking up, just making sure our children haven't jumped into the pool without permission. So that's good.
That's quite all right. We don't need any Madeleine McCann things going on on holiday. So that doesn't have to put a downer on the holiday when that happens.
Really does. Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you know that song, brother, or not?
I wouldn't know a Nirvana song if I fell over it, apart from Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Yeah. Well,
I have no interest in them whatsoever.
No, which is absolutely fair enough. So your next choice.
Now, which one will I go with next? I'm going to go with another iconic introduction.
Oh dear.
Album. And again, one of you's going to like this, one of you isn't.
It won't be me.
Appetite for Destruction Welcome to the Jungle.
Yeah.
Oh no, I like that.
Oh well, there you go. Okay,
hang on, hold the front page.
Yeah, we've got one that he actually enjoys.
Now,
Yeah.
when you consider that the age ranges of the band when they released that record was 21. Slash was the youngest, and the oldest was Axl at 25, and I think Izzy was 25 as well.
Yeah,
and that opening few bars of that song changed rock music forever. It got rid of hair metal. It turned everybody on to a new way of listening and playing rock music.
Well, it's a complete life changer. I remember hearing it for the first time. It's definitely the first Guns N' Roses song I ever heard. And I was sitting in my dad's study, and it came on top of the pops.
That's the one with the delay at the start. Isn't it?
That was
Yeah.
This is who we are.
And
Yeah.
And
how, I mean, to write that caliber of song when you're that young, I find it staggering. And the level of musicianship,
and
it's staggering.
The fact that it came out of absolutely nowhere, and obviously this is a guitar-based podcast, and it really was the song. Well, I said it was "Sweet Child of Mine," but really, the two, as we said in our last conversation about intros, is the two together were really what started it all.
Yeah, I mean, notable mention. One of my favourite songs off that album is "My Michelle." I know you're a keen lover of "My Michelle."
It's Rocket Queen is my favourite one. "My Michelle" was always. I don't know. I said I was before.
Yeah.
Okay.
The opening line, "Your daddy."
Well, absolutely. Yeah,
it's just so.
Brilliant. Yeah, it is a fantastic song.
Now,
quickly interrupt on that. Last point on "My Michelle," verse is much better than the chorus.
Absolutely agree.
There you go, Andrew.
Funny enough, like every Police song I've written.
Oh, there you go.
Almost. I'd have to agree, because even though I absolutely hate Guns N' Roses and Slash with a violent passion, I will have to say that "Welcome to the Jungle" is an absolutely awesome intro, and I've played it. I've recorded it here for a laugh, I think, a few years ago, and it's it's not difficult, but it's it's very impactful. I think "Sweet Child of Mine" has probably had more impact, and like you said last time, there's going to be a lot of people are going to go and pick up a guitar and want to be a Les Paul because of that song. And from that point of view, while my personal opinions of the band are low, the whole guitariness of that is massive, and I would agree that it's definitely up there, for sure.
Well done, good choice.
Happy with those so far.
Happy with those so far. Choice number 3.
Right. So you cannot.
Here we go.
I don't know if you'll even know this, but you cannot have one of these conversations without including Tom Morello.
No, you're a massive fan. I definitely like him. I have seen Audio Slave as well, but I definitely he is an incredible introist and guitarist.
He treads the line between melody and aggression so sweetly, and I think he's a complete genius guitar player.
This is Rage Against the Machine, isn't it, Tom Morello?
Well, he's been in a number of things. A particular song, although I could have chosen any one of, particularly on the first Rage Against the Machine album, which in my mind is one of the few absolutely perfect albums from note one to the end. I've actually gone for an Audio Slave track, Cochise.
Yeah, which I listened to just before.
So the song, do you know that?
No.
You should listen to it.
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
Incredible. Well, but the song, the song starts quite low and rumbling with just a sort of bit of dirt, a drum beat, and not much, but it's promising something. And it's going to promise something. But it over delivers.
Yes.
And the riff that he comes out with, I remember listening to it for the first time, and I was just leaping around the place. It had a visceral effect. And then it goes from that into this sort of screaming lyric from Chris Cornell.
Yeah, well, Chris Cornell is absolutely one of the greatest rock stars of all time. Mm-hmm. One of the most phenomenal frontmen.
His voice was amazing. Because he did Casino Royale, "You Know My Name" theme tune for the Bond film.
your Bond knowledge will definitely outstrip mine. I didn't know that his voice
is just probably the best Bond theme ever.
Well,
that song is unbelievable. The power of it is just, you couldn't possibly hope to replicate it. It just sounds like a man falling through a sawmill. His voice, it's awesome.
It was to say, and unfortunately, he parted with us in 2017. But he was the absolute. I saw Audio Slave at the Astoria in 2000, must have been 2002, whenever they first came out, and I remember there were so many people wanting to get tickets, and someone had managed to get tickets for us, and I don't know how, but Lemmy was actually out at the back and opened the back doors of the Astoria so the fans who couldn't get in could listen to him from the back of Soho Square. It was one of those great
That's cool
moments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean the so if I'm Tom Morello did. He did the thing with the what was that tune that they played at the end of The Matrix?
Wake Up.
Wake Up. I mean, what an intro that is.
It's my favourite song off the first Rage Against the Machine album.
Now that is an absolutely awesome song, and that was like we said on the first one. You tie a song to a film with a particular effect happening, with with Neo soaring out of the amazingly powerful.
It's also,
and there's nothing wrong with that.
Absolute joy to play. So it's not difficult.
It's not difficult at all,
and it is so satisfying to play.
I've taught it, in fact, on a couple of occasions, and it's just like a really easy song. And that bass line, that boom, 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 it's really good.
One of the greatest bands ever, and I really hope they do come back to the UK. They were supposed to and cancelled during the COVID years, and I pray that Rage will come back.
They will come back one day, I'm sure. Absolutely.
Right.
Cool. So number was that three? We're on to four. To four.
We're on to four already.
It's hard to choose between these two. I kind of want to put them together because
we're running on a time limit rather than a number limit. So if you go over on the number of intros, we're always happy to.
We've got plenty of time.
So we're doing well for time. So
next one, which actually took me a little bit by surprise, but it just popped onto my headphones a while back, and I suddenly started thinking about this, and I thought, oh my God, that's incredible. Again, attached to a movie is Creedence Clearwater Revival, Fortunate Son.
It's an absolutely phenomenal intro from every single part. The Creedence Clearwater Revival are one of the greatest bands of all time.
John Fogerty.
Did you know that Nirvana originally started as a Creedence Clearwater Revival cover band?
I did not know that.
I didn't know that.
John Fogerty, Creedence Clearwater Revival. That intro,
really simple,
and obviously right at the time of the Vietnam War and all the stuff that was going on at the time of the moment, you had everything, and it's been used in numerous Vietnam War movies.
Well, the most famous is Forrest Gump.
Yes,
where Forrest Gump and Bubba are flying into the combat zone.
Yeah,
and it fitted the situation
absolutely badly. I think it was in Platoon as well.
Yeah, I don't think so. Well, it's been in a few things. It's been in, like, they used it on Top Gear or Grand Tour things when they were in Vietnam as well.
Oh, that one, yes. I'm probably sure I've heard that. Yeah.
Honestly, it's one of those absolutely, and I think
screaming lyric.
Yeah, I do agree. That is a phenomenal intro.
But I was wrestling between that and Ohio.
Yeah,
which is still naturally young.
Very, very similar cut time. Very
similar time.
Similar idea.
That was about the shooting where four students were killed.
Yeah.
And Neil Young wrote the song really, really quickly.
Yeah.
He recorded it and released it within a matter of weeks.
It was within weeks.
Because he didn't want it to take a year and then the instant be dim and distant memory.
And it's just a D minor.
And again, what an
absolutely phenomenal,
life-changing song that is.
Yeah, intro. Obviously, I'm a huge Neil Young song, and if I was to go, I could probably do an entire, as you could with you too, Andy. I could probably do an entire 5 or even 10 intro sessions purely on Neil Young songs. Was definitely a classic, because that was actually Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It wasn't just Neil Young on his own. Yeah.
Neither of those did that well in the chart. I mean, they did okay. They got to like 14. I think both of them.
Oh, you know more than I do on the chart numbers. But still, for a band
very popular with the anti-war movement at Fortunate Son.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, both classics.
I'm slightly disturbed because my daiquiri is finished.
Well, unfortunately, the daiquiri is done. That's the last daiquiri you're having. We don't have time to go and order another one. So
they do that when you're on holiday.
They do, particularly when they're only small in stature.
Yeah, I've never actually had a daiquiri before. So
you should remember it. Very sweet. Lots of crushed strawberries, bit of rum. Absolute winner.
Some crushed knolls.
Yeah,
fair enough. White rum, I'm assuming. Yes.
White rum indeed. Yes.
Anyway, we can do a podcast about rum.
Yeah. We definitely.
Yeah, well, we won't be doing that because with the guitar, with the guitar podcast and not a rum podcast.
Absolutely. Unless we can do songs directly about rum, I'm sure there must be a few. But Pina Colada song definitely has rum in it, so there you go. Anyway,
yes, we're getting sidetracked with rum now. Yes.
Yeah.
Moving swiftly on.
Yeah.
So this one, my brother Bill is going to absolutely love more than any other song. I think you might know what this is.
I think I know what this is. You mentioned it to me before, and I know it's not going to be his thing at all.
And it's also one of the longest intros. Is it an long intro up until the lyric? It's part 1 and 2. Is it?
I think it's one of the longest intros of all time.
Which all those out there who may or may not have guessed is "Shine On, You Crazy Diamond" by one and only Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
I'm particularly fond of the live versions of this.
Yeah.
You know, the pulse
particularly
recording.
because they have the swelling of the keyboard without knowing
everything.
exactly what comes in. All of a sudden it goes down, and everyone goes completely mad.
That is actually, it's cool. I'm not a big Floyd fan, and I'm not particularly a Gilmour fan either, but that is a really good moody intro, and the tone and the control he has on that is, I've taught it a couple of times and it is pretty impressive.
Well, the whole thing is a little soundscape journey, isn't it? In the very, I mean, it's always the first song they play.
Yeah.
And what a way to show. And they just walk you through this kind of world right up until that lyric kicks in, which is so cutting.
It's that. I don't know if it'll pick it up with that.
It fixes up
Perfectly, absolutely, yes. You can
I mean, what an awesome sound that was. I mean, like chorus and a bit of delay and just, his Stratocaster, and it was just boom.
Apparently he did that by mistake because he was supposed to be playing an A minor and he accidentally did that, and that's how he kind of stumbled with it.
Do you know how the song came about and why?
I'm sure you do. So
I absolutely do. So basically, Sid Barrett left Pink Floyd in don't quote me on the date. I think about 1968. I might be completely wrong. So please. Yeah. So anyway, he had disappeared. He was living up in his mum's attic, had lost his marbles really, really, really badly. And they were writing that song, "Shine On You Crazy Diamond," about Sid Barrett. And in May of 1975, May 1974, when they were recording it, they were in the studio laying down that track, and they looked at the back, and there was a shadowy, overweight, bald figure at the back of the room. And the guy and Sid Barrett had heard about it and had turned up to watch them record that. He didn't say anything to anyone, watched the recording, said thank you, and disappeared off. And that was the last time they saw him.
Yeah. Wow. That's a story.
It's a story. But so shining, he was the crazy diamond that was having to shine on.
So, but you had all that amazing guitar intro, then guitar dropped out. Richard kicked in with his keyboard.
Yeah.
And then it all sort of helped.
Then you got the effort.
And I'm such a lover of Gilmour as a singer as well. I love his voice so much.
He's got a good voice. Yeah.
Just the way he's got that slight sort of travelling texture to his voice.
And they're
Now, here's an interesting question, which I don't know the answer to.
Go on.
On the studio version, did he or Waters sing it?
I think he did.
Because Waters sang most things, and their voices are so incredibly similar in the studio.
It's hard to tell.
I'm sure if we Googled it and found out, but yeah, look, I cannot deny you that as a phenomenal intro.
It is up there with intros.
Don't worry about how many you've done. I'm running on time rather than numbers, so you've got time to chat through a few. Because remember when Andy and I did it, we did 5 each, but it was both of us doing one of our own. So you've got a little bit more time. So
there's a few that kind of I brushed up against. One that he will like, and this is more of a nostalgic because it reminds me of being a kid in the 80s, was Phantom of the Opera by Iron Maiden.
Oh, yeah. And the Daley Thompson advert for Lucozade.
Obviously, I never knew that was Iron Maiden, but I loved the Daley Thompson Lucozade advert.
It's so brilliant.
And it was always stuck in my head.
I think it's played. It's there somewhere. Where is it?
I did learn it.
Yeah.
I've taught that on many occasions, and it's an absolutely. And then it's like a spring waiting to go, and then suddenly you get this. It's a mental song.
Yeah,
I've forgotten about it actually. Yeah,
I'm not a huge fan of the rest of the song, but the actual intro of that is totally
Maiden rock. So they're cool.
I also had Johnny Be Good.
Absolutely, cannot deny that.
You cannot deny Johnny Be Good.
It's a forefather of them, really.
It was an intro to intros.
And yeah, good point. And also, you cannot detach that song without talking about Back to the Future.
No, absolutely.
That scene was
terribly historic.
You know, Chuck Berry. I believe someone will probably, hopefully, in the comments will tell me I'm wrong, maybe. But I heard many years ago that he actually used banjo strings on his 355, and that's what gave it that really thin, jangly noise. On his Gibson, I'll look it up and say we'll confirm it in the description. Yeah, but apparently that's what he did. Someone told me that's what he did.
I've always had a massive issue with historical inaccuracies of Back to the Future.
Yeah, who cares?
That was He went back to 1955. Gibson were not making that model in 1955. There's nothing.
That's true, actually. Yeah.
Nothing about that film was at all unrealistic, apart from the fact that Gibson. So he would have gone back from 1980 back to 1958 when they originally brought out the ES335. Also, that was a Gibson ES335 body with an ES345 neck. So, and that was used specifically for that show and that show alone. That film alone, and no one knows what happened to it. It absolutely disappeared. So if anyone found one, cross between a 355 and a 345, it was definitely...
That would be worth some coin.
It would be a 350.
It would have been wouldn't have been a 350. It's an entirely different kind of guitar. But my thoughts on that
you need to lie down.
What he obviously did was went back to 1955. Realised he could only get himself hands on a gold top. Realised he needed a solid body for that tone. Went back to 1958. With the guitar just for that point. That's why they know it's historically inaccurate.
Well, yeah, they just didn't. Zemeckis didn't show that in the film, but he did go forward to get the right guitar and bring it back. Yeah,
the right guitar. Went to a luthier, changed the necks over, brought it back to get exactly.
For just complete random reasons. So never mind the whole sort of time travel's impossible paradox nonsense. He had the wrong guitar in the wrong year. So what a job.
The pickups would have been available from that year, but. Anyway, we'll continue.
That's just ultra geekery, which is what we like on the Three Chords podcast. We are here for ultra geek.
Yeah, go. Next one.
Let me think. I did think about songs like "Message in a Bottle."
Oh, such a good song!
Great intro.
Unbelievable. So annoying to play. When he and I went to see them, they opened the show with that.
Oh my God! It was just
walked right up to the front of the stage and just absolutely hit it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And the thing is that as we've learned recently with people like Paul Davids, and when Andy Summers went on with Rick Beato, he actually showed what he did, and he had two guitar parts. So the famous, horrible D major 11s and those awful things to play. Yeah. He then over that he played these really weird noises that went over the back of it, and the two of them is what gave it that sound. And after 400 years of wanting to know what he did, we found out. It was like, hooray!
He was in a jazz fusion band. I can't remember what they were called. When Sting found him to join the Police, and So all of his friends were going to him, "Why are you joining a punk band? Why are you joining a punk band?" He said, "No, there's something about this guy.
Yeah.
Something about this band. I'm trying to give it a go."
Absolutely, yeah. Because he was a guitar teacher and a very accomplished guitar player, Andy Summers, and he's considerably older than Sting and Stuart.
He was. I think he's only
about 10. He's about 10 years older.
Yeah, he's definitely older than
Stuart's 70, I think, this year. It was his birthday the other day, and Andy's 80, 81-ish, I think.
Quite a drummer, Stuart Coe. If not the best.
And you wouldn't know Andy Summers is 81. No, I mean, he looks about 12 still, and it's like
definitely it's good.
I think Stuart Copeland probably is the best drummer.
He's the best drummer of all time. Yeah, I met Sting.
I think so.
You know, I did meet Sting once in the toilet.
Did have a guitar conversation.
I did have a guitar conversation with Sting in the toilet. I'll tell very, very briefly. I was sat in Bentley's in Oxford, in Piccadilly with my brother. My brother said, "Sting's just gone upstairs and gone to the toilet." I went, "No, he hasn't." And he went, "Yes, he has." And I went, "Right, okay." So I snuck upstairs, stuck into the cubicle, shut the door, peeked in through the peepholes. There was Sting having a wee. So I was like,
"Oh my God,
I have to meet him. I can't let this one ride. So I've got to meet Sting." So
you have to.
So I came out of the toilet, not having done anything, but he didn't know that.
No.
He washed his hands. I thought, how do I introduce myself to Sting? So I said,
should have said, "Don't stand so close."
What I actually said to him was, "Gordon," and he turned round. I looked at him. He looked straight at me. He said, "Who is this weird guy talking to me in the toilet?" I went, "I'm looking to buy a new bass. What should I get?" And he said, "You should buy the oldest Fender that you can afford." I said, "Thank you very much." And I shook his hand. Him not knowing that I hadn't just been for a wee and not washed my hands. I said,
but you were fine.
He said, "What do you play at the moment?" I said, "Well, I play a Rickenbacker 4001. He went, "A Rickenbacker 4001, scoffed and went out.
Yeah.
He went downstairs. I went downstairs. He went out the front of the restaurant. I was sitting there minding my own business. And suddenly I felt a hand on my shoulder, and he came back in and he said, "Didn't mean to be rude about your Rickenbacker." And off he went.
Oh, wow, what a cool guy.
What a nice guy. And also he is 10 times more Geordie than you think he's going to be.
Yeah.
Full Geordie. Anyway.
He is, yeah. And the thing is that he's also, like, I can't believe you called him Gordon, because that's tantamount to blasphemy. And even his mum calls him Sting.
Well, I thought if I call him Gordon, he's going to turn round.
That worked.
It worked. He turned round and it was I didn't know he didn't like it, but I specifically thought it was one of those things. My brain, I was definitely several glasses of heavy red wine deep when
That's fair enough. I did actually nearly meet Nick Mason a few years ago, because he was at Goodwood.
Obviously, he loves his cars.
And I didn't go and speak to him because I can't stand Pink Floyd, so I just thought, "Oh, it's Nick Mason," and walked off. But I'm much more interested in his collection of cars. That's Sean. I would have probably spoken to him about that.
He's got a 64 250 GTO, hasn't he?
Yes, which is about 40 million quid's worth.
Yeah,
now. But I did meet Derek Bell instead, who was much nicer and very cool.
Yeah. And Derek Bell's a good mate of my dad's. We'll talk about that another time. So that's all good.
Anyway, moving on.
We've probably got time for one more intro. So what's it going to be?
Well, I had a bit of a bass intro.
Okay.
Beatles song, "Come Together."
Well, that's absolutely genius, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, right. Interesting.
Well, there is no doubt that the Beatles are the
Beatles hadn't featured in our lineups at all.
Excuse me one second.
Pick any particular song, because there's so many of them. Like Paperback Writer's got an amazing intro. You know, you could listen.
Dr. Roberts, the intro and the guitar part in Dr. Robert is just so cool.
And Your Bird Can Sing is a brilliant one.
Yeah, dual guitar parts.
The Jam did a cover of that as well.
They did, and it's amazing.
And there's so many, but I suppose "Come Together" is one of the most iconic ones.
Yeah, I think,
and it's got bass, so I thought, why not do one for the bass players out there?
Yeah. Absolutely, it's great. Right, unfortunately, we're going to have to draw things to a close. So I'm being badgered because I need to go and get my daughter ready for going out for the evening. So we must.
It's been fun. It's been good. We've learned lots of stuff.
It's been great doing our first one from abroad as well. So
absolutely, it's our first international podcast.
Absolutely, it went well.
See our view.
Yes,
it's incredible.
There you go.
I bet it's very nice. It's a lot nicer than my view. Yeah, that's very pretty. Yeah.
There you go. Cool. Well.
Yeah. That's awesome.
The Three Chords and Some Lies podcast will return in a week's time, and we'll speak to you soon.
We will indeed. Cheers, guys.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.